Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Maureen. I go by Mags. I'm really excited today. I want to share my nursing journey with you guys. Grab yourself a little drink. I have the Alani new Juicy Peach drink. Let's get into it, you guys. Cheers. My journey has been all over the place. I always kind of joke around and say I'm like a 10-year plus college student because that's really honestly like how it feels. Working towards becoming a nurse for such a long time. I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. Felt pulled towards like I really want to help people and I want to, you know, be there for them on their worst days and hopefully give them a little bit of hope and let them know like they're not alone. A really bad car accident in high school, and there's a reason why I'm here, and I truly believe like my purpose started to develop after that experience of being in a car accident. My faith journey really started as well. I graduated from high school, and from there I got my certified nurse's assistant. I've been to like 5 different colleges, okay? So it took me a long time to really just kind of figure out where I could find my home. I moved like 2,000 miles away from home and I just really struggled. I didn't want to move back home, but I didn't want to move so far away. So actually it worked out to where I moved to Arizona and I went to school there. I was working as a certified nurse's assistant, struggling internally. And I just didn't really know like what it was, but I felt like I was seeking this validation outside of me. I want to move, you know, I think a lot of it was like trying to move and run away from whatever it was that I was internally struggling with at that time. Huge part into me like moving so much. Say like you can never run from your problems or whatever it is that you're going through in your life. Like it's always going to follow you and it's always going to be there. And there's only so much distraction that you can actually do in order to like distract yourself away from like what's internally going on with you. So I moved again, but I actually moved a little bit closer to my hometown. I transferred to a university. This was my 3rd school. I realized that the university was actually expensive, so I went and transferred to a community college. That was my 4th college. I got my Associate of Science degree, and I was missing 1 point to be able to apply to their nursing program. I was totally bummed, and during that time my grandpa had actually passed away, so that was another like life experience that shook me to the core, shook our family to the core. Like I said, he was the rock in our family. So I was just like, what am I supposed to do now? Like I am losing, you know, someone that is so close to me, that has been a mentor or father figure in my life. Like when you go through grief, it's just something that you will never know until you experience it. And unfortunately, like we all have to experience it at one point in our life. And it is the most life-altering experience that you can really go through. And it's an experience that you can, you know, go through and grow through, or it's something that maybe can just really alter you in a way that may not be healthy for you in your life. In that time, I just felt like, you know, my life was just crumbling around me. I missed 1 point to apply to the nursing program. And I was like, I'm going to have to wait a whole nother year to be able to, I'm going to have to retake this class. I'm going to have to wait a whole nother year to be able to apply to this program. And at that time, and rather than retaking the class, I switched my major to becoming a physician's assistant. It's so crazy to even talk about and say out loud. So then fast forward, another life event happened. My friend's mom had passed away. This was a really challenging time as well because I feel like internally I hadn't really processed my grief from my grandpa, and just like anytime a major event happens, marriage, a birth, a death, people get really weird, and a lot of family situations happen where it's just like a whole nother topic that we can dive into later. But I realized that through my boyfriend's mom passing away that I had a lot of inner work that I needed to do, because I realized that my behaviors and my actions around his mom's death brought up a lot that I realized I hadn't dealt with, and I was acting out of character. And so I realized like, okay, well, if my behavior and my actions are hurting other people that I love, why why is this happening? So I had to do a lot of internal work on that, and I really suggest therapy. Like, it's something that I will always recommend, because it just helped provide me with insight and helped me discover like what's really going on inside of me, and working through those things and emotions and those different thought patterns and different behaviors. Focused on that, and I doubled down on my studies. A year later, I graduated from the university with my bachelor's public health. After I got all that, I was like, do I really want to be a physician's assistant? I decided to take a year off and just really think about, what do I want? Just talking about it is so crazy, because I've just come such a long way, and I feel like sometimes we don't acknowledge that and reflect on all the different experiences that we've had. I'm proud of how far we've come. I realized I wanted to be a nurse still, and I started looking up nursing programs. I applied to 2 programs within my community that I resided in, and I was denied. And at this point, I honestly was just like in that mindset of like, I just want to get this finished. I want to be done. I looked at the Accredited Board of Nursing website, and I wrote out which programs am I eligible to apply for based on the prerequisites that I already currently have. Researching things, if you already had a bachelor's degree, you were able to be like on this fast track program to getting your bachelor's degree in nursing. And so that's the route that I took. Applied, I was accepted to start in May of 2020. So excited, I couldn't wait. And then it was like COVID hit. I found out I was pregnant the first day of my nursing program. Like, at that moment, I just felt like this mommy wave come over me of like, I just need to finish as much as I can while I'm pregnant. There's 3 full semesters, right? Summer, fall, and spring. But each semester is basically cut into like 8-week increments. May through July, right? May through July, that's like 1 semester. I finished that online. Then August to November, end of November, I actually went to Kentucky and I lived there in the dorms. Never recommend, someone who's pregnant live in the dorms. It's so uncomfortable. I had this kind of like delusional thinking that I was going to come back as a new mom with a newborn and finish my last semester. Yeah, that was cute. That was cute when I think about it. Like, okay, girl, like, ooh. Yeah, just didn't work out. So I finished that semester, flew back home. Flying when you're like 7 months pregnant is awful. So uncomfortable. I was like sweating. I just felt so constricted flying back home. I was like, I hate this so much. Anyways, made it home, and I loved like having that time to just kind of like relax before having the baby. The first year being postpartum was really, really challenging. A lot of expectations that I had for myself were not really met, and that was really tough. I actually got a work from home job, which was honestly such a blessing, because I was so nervous about having to go back to work and possibly like putting my son in daycare. So fast forward, after that first year of tutoring and then working from home and staying in contact with my nursing advisor, I had tried to go back to nursing school that next fall. So in fall of 21, but it just didn't work out. And again, I was disappointed. I was upset. I was like, is this ever going to happen for me? That following year, I had decided to leave my son's dad. I think when you have different values and different beliefs, it really can be challenging trying to come together when you have a lot of conflicting differences. And so I'll leave it at that. At that time too, there was a lot of different like family circumstances going on that was just really challenging in general. So during that year, I started kind of having this like accepting the fact that I may never go back to nursing school and finish this program. After I had split up with my son's dad, I moved back home. Felt like I was starting from zero, like ground zero. It was like I was going through this like internal struggle of like feeling like I'm not enough, like I'm never gonna complete this goal that I have. Like, how am I gonna show my son that like no matter what in life, if you have something on your heart, like you have this vision for yourself, like you can do it. Like, how was I going to show him that? And I just felt like I was at rock bottom. I had lost some relationships during that time. Like, I was really challenged in so many different areas within my life. I felt like God was just like pulling people out left and right. I had this belief of like being afraid of going after a goal because I'm afraid of what people might say, what's their opinion about me. Yeah, it was just something I had to really go through in order to grow and be at this point where I'm at now in my life. I'm so grateful for my coworker. Like, he really just encouraged me to go ahead and, you know, go back to nursing school and finish it. It's like, what do you have to lose? Like, you have one more semester left. Like, you can do this. And so in December of 2022, I told my son's dad, I was like, I want to finish nursing school. And he was like, okay. A little bit of a struggle in regards to figuring out our co-parenting. That was actually something that was challenging in and of itself too. The main theme of 2023, when I was going back to school and I made that decision, I just like proclaimed it. God was just telling me to take the next step. When I couldn't see the whole staircase, I know that metaphor is overly used, but it's so true. Like, when you step out in faith and you're like, okay, like, you declare this and God like shows you, you just take that next step and he'll make that next step for you, and you take action and you keep going. And I really believe, like, oftentimes we want things handed to us and we just want to pray like, oh, I'm cold, like, give me a sweater, but we won't actually go out and do what we need to do in order to get a sweater. Like, this is what faith is. Honestly, didn't believe that I was going to be going back to nursing school that fall, and I was just like struggling with believing that that actually was going to happen, even to the point where I was on the plane with my son and we were going over there. I was like still in denial that I'm actually going and finishing this nursing program. Everything was lining up: housing, being able to find childcare, being able to like keep my job, because I knew I had to keep my job in order to like keep going. I wanted to add too is like internally I was struggling still at this point, wanted somebody to come in and save me, and I had like such a victim mentality of like, even though I was having faith in God and like showing me the way and like taking each step forward, I feel like internally I was struggling to feel like I was enough, like I was good enough as a woman and as a mom. And I just really wanted to be like appreciated and shown like, you know, like I am loved, I am worthy. Like, I feel like my self-worth was still really, really low. Just going through everything that I went through that first postpartum year, you know, after having my son, and just feeling really disappointed within myself in regards to like, now I have a two-parent household for my own child, and I told myself I never would do that. And there's just so many different triggers that I had. And I feel like even when you go to therapy before you have kids, oftentimes triggers may not show up until you have kids. So it's like, how do you handle those triggers, and what skill set do you use when you are triggered? And so I actually was like making poor choices in regards to just different decisions I was making during that time. And like, even though I was just like mentally strong on the outside and like handling business, I felt like internally I was struggling with my self-worth, and I felt like I was trying to repeat patterns from my childhood to somehow prove to myself that I can do better than what my parents did. But yet I was like still choosing people that reminded me of my childhood to somehow like repeat this cycle, but to like prove to myself that I'm better than what my parents chose when they were younger. Like, how to explain it, I just know like I was going through it and I was really struggling. And I think that, so again, it's a semester, but there's like 2 8-week sessions in that. And the second 8-week session, my son, our parenting plan was like my son would go and stay with his dad. And that was one of the hardest times of my entire life, because I had never been separated from my son for more than like 2 days. And it was really, really challenging. It makes me tear up, because it was just like something that I never would wish upon anybody, even my worst enemy. Like, going through that, because I felt like I'm uprooting my son's life, and I felt selfish for going after this goal and finishing this goal of mine. And I had different people say, like, you need to be a mom, you need to focus on being a mom, like, why are you doing that? I've had people say that to me, and I think, like, their intention was, like, somehow to, like, in a loving way, but, like, it hurt so deeply that I just stayed busy to try to, like, keep my mind off of it. But then once my son, like, left and he was, you know, back with his dad, and I was there, like, trying to finish my last semester, and I was just going through it. It was really, really tough. I would just never wish that on anybody. During that time, I had 2 weeks left, okay? I had 2 weeks left of this nursing semester in order to graduate, and I was having to choose between my job and my... What happened was I had underestimated my PTO, and so, which was really frustrating because I was like, obviously my math skills are not up to par. I resigned from my job, and I had to make that really difficult choice. I was also, like, struggling with one of my classes. I honestly was just like, I think I'm gonna fail. So much doubt. And it was just like, that's why I say it's so important when you're in nursing school, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to encourage you, who are going to uplift you, who are going to be there to support you and say, like, you can do this, you've come this far. And one thing that I will give to myself during that time is, like, even when I was doubting, I was still taking action to study. I took my final exam for that class. It was critical care, and I passed it. Graduated, things worked out, and I flew back home to my son. Story does not stop there, because since I went out of state to get my nursing degree, I had to prove to the state that I was residing in nursing that I went to a legitimate program. So I had to wait for my transcript to go through, which took about, like, a few weeks, and then I had to fill out the application for applying to be eligible to take my Board of Nursing exam, which is your NCLEX. I applied, and I was waiting to be approved to take the exam. I also was still struggling with my self-worth and having, like, this self-doubt of, like, imposter syndrome of, like, am I gonna be a nurse? Like, I don't think I'm a good enough nurse. Like, I was already thinking that and doubting myself before I even took my exam. So, like, my mindset was just totally shot before I even was eligible to take it. So much anxiety around taking the exam. And during those 6 months, did I study that much? No. Why didn't I study that much? Because my mindset was limiting belief, mindset, anxiety. Applied to get my nursing permit. So I actually, from the long-term care facility medical records, I started working on a cart. That's a whole nother story. I need to make a video for working in long-term care facilities because it's totally different. This isn't where I expected I'd be at in my life at this point. Long story short, I schedule it for, like, the end of June, and I fail. I fail the exam. I immediately lose my nursing permit, so I can't work anymore. I lose my job. Found a job working as a waitress. I'm doing that, and then I rescheduled my exam like 3 times. And I finally had it scheduled in October of 2024. I had used a whole different program to study for the NCLEX. I had really started working on my mindset, working out to help relieve stress, like doing those things that are going to help me mentally, physically, and emotionally. I pass it, and then I start working at the long-term care facility again. This is a very, like, small synopsis of what I've gone through, but I want to share it because I think it's so important to know, like, you're not alone. And oftentimes I've felt so alone in my postpartum period, and, you know, in grief, and having to, you know, take accountability and responsibility for my actions and decisions that I've made in my life, and having to work through guilt, having to work through, like, feeling, like, so low, having to work through doubt, having to work through fear, you know. And I think, like, I didn't come this far to come this far, and where I'm at now is I have been hired to a job that I've been wanting for such a long time, and, you know, I'm so proud of, like, how far I've come. And I think, like, if you're in a moment of doubting yourself and how, and you don't have any self-worth, I hope that you're able to grab onto mine, because I believe in you. I know that you can do it. You are worthy of good things, and good things are coming to you. And I just tear up about it because I wish I had more of that in my life during those times. And I think that's, if I can help one person know how worthy and how loved they are and how beautiful they are, and that you don't need to be in a rush. And if you're struggling with your self-worth, like, just know you are worthy. And if you don't believe that right now, grab onto it. If I could somehow give you that energy of you are worthy and you are loved, please grasp onto it and know there are free resources out there to you. I need to make a whole nother video about this, but like, look for those resources that are available to you to help you, because you deserve it. Your kids deserve a happy mom. Your kids deserve a mom who knows that she's worthy and that she's loved. And that, I think, a big part of me working through a lot of my own stuff, you could say, is having faith in God and letting Him work on me and work through me. And just know that nobody is going to come and save you, and it's up to you to save yourself, in a sense of like, you need to take action to move forward. Thank you for listening, and I really hope I was able to give you some insight and know that you're not alone. You're worthy, you're loved, and to know that you can do this. If you make this decision, and whatever decision it is in your life, to go after something, you can do it. Most of the time we get in our own way because we're afraid. We have self-limiting beliefs. So that's why I say it's so important to work on your mindset. And there's so many resources out there that are free to you to help you realize like how abundant you really are. And if you invest in yourself, in your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health, like, there's nothing but growth and nothing but up from here on out. I promise you. So excited, but I'm really nervous, and I honestly, like, I feel very vulnerable sharing all this, but I just feel like this fire in my belly of like, this is something I need to share, because it can save a life, and it really can help another single mom who's going after their goals and just needs somebody, needs a friend, needs someone to say like, you can do it. You've gone through a lot of hard things already before, and you will get through this. This too shall pass. Every season passes, and then there's a new season. Like, every day is a new day. And even when you don't feel like worthy, know that that feeling is going to pass, and you do not have to grasp onto that feeling and make it truth to you, because that's not true. Guys, you guys have a really great day. Thank you again so much for tuning into my channel. Please like, share, subscribe. If you know somebody that this will just touch their lives and this will give them encouragement and hope, please share it. Please share it. That is my intention with sharing my journey, is to give you hope and encouragement, and know that every season passes, gets better from here, and everything that we go through can help us grow more and more. And life is abundant, and truly we cannot fathom the abundance that God has for us in our lives. And it's like that image of the little girl holding the teddy bear, but then God has like a bigger teddy bear. Like, it's on our way. It's on the way to us. And if we can just surrender, that's my motto this year, is surrendering. Like, surrendering fear, surrendering the fact that maybe I don't know what's ahead, but I know God does. And if we can rest in that and just grasp onto that hope and that faith, then we can, like, there's just so much out there for us, and I think we don't fully understand and comprehend it. That's okay, and we don't have to. And I think that's a part of surrendering too, is like knowing that we may not be able to see it, But it is up to us to take accountability and responsibility for our lives, for moving forward, for taking action, and for working through those emotions that may be keeping us stuck in a place, working through those self-limiting behaviors that maybe we picked up on from childhood or we've accumulated, and maybe we've never really addressed. But if we dive into it and look at those resources available to us, I think that we can really make our lives easier. I don't know. I'm speaking to myself on this too, but bye.